Okay. All right. Thank you, Yulia. And just by way of introduction, my name is Blair Newman. I'm the CTO here at Newton. And it's definitely a pleasure to have all of you guys join us here during today's session. I certainly believe that we have a tremendous amount of information to share with you guys today. And I'm certainly certain that you guys will get a tremendous amount of value out of our discussion. Today's discussion, brought to you by our AI Talent Lab, is titled around the quickest pathway to a data science career. Joining us today will be Dr. Chris Armbruster. He's the head of data career at the AI Guild. So hopefully you guys are in the right session. If you're not, you're already here, so just might as well just stick with us all the way through. So let's head over to the agenda. So for today, and as Yulia mentioned, we had the pleasure or the opportunity to conduct a fairly expansive survey covering over 1,000 data analysts, and we'll start off by sharing some of those results with you guys. Then from there, we'll head over to Dr. Chris Armbruster. He'll go over his content around a career boost and a full guide around how you can boost your career. And then from there, we'll also invite one of our lead data scientists, Daniil, who will take the opportunity to kind of walk you guys through how you can begin to leverage some other tools that can certainly enhance and accelerate your career as well, especially as it relates to, from what I've seen from the survey, there's a number of different individuals who are really looking forward to get into that machine learning or that data science space. And we believe that we have something to share with you guys that can help you accelerate to get you to that point. And then from there, we'll have a CV validation giveaway. Thanks to Chris. And then we'll also have a Q&A at the end. Now, some of you guys may wonder, why did we conduct this survey? Not only the survey that we conducted prior to today's event, but also why the survey that we wanted to share with you guys prior to getting this event started. One of the things that we've learned, one of the things certainly that I've learned throughout my career, is one thing that is constant is change. And one of the things that I always like to say is the skills that got you to where you are today are not necessarily the skills that you're going to need to get you to tomorrow. It's always a constant evolution of change. And this is one of the things that we want to share with you guys is, what does the landscape look like today? How does everyone see themselves? How does the market define things? And then from there, we want to take you to, what are some of those steps, or what are some of those things that you need to begin to take into consideration to get you to tomorrow so that you can also be successful there as well. So starting off with the survey, one of the things that we wanted to share, and you probably seen this question already, is we wanted to get an idea. We wanted to get a really good feeling as to, based upon surveying well over 1,000 analysts, where did they see themselves? And it actually aligned pretty closely to the results that we've seen in the survey now, where we're seeing that a majority of the analysts that we surveyed, their aspirations was to become a data scientist. And then following on closely, second and third behind that was around analytics, specifically around the management side, and then of course, machine learning, right? Kind of makes sense. We're all in the same space from an AI perspective, but it seemed to be pretty consistent. And then from there, one of the things that we wanted to take a look at, because oftentimes, monetary compensation can be a driver to, as it relates to where we would want to be in our career. And of course, the compensation kind of aligns there. There are some of us that, really truly have a deep passion specifically, for machine learning or for artificial intelligence or any aspect of this particular area. And of course, that just makes sense. But we tend to find that, yes, the salaries also kind of align with some of the aspirations that we have, especially as we're kind of beginning on our professional career. So that kind of aligns with some of the data that we were able to identify as well. And then now here's where it begins to get interesting. We asked another question, is what was the skill that we believe that people felt they needed in order to achieve some of their goals? And again, if I'm not mistaken, this aligned pretty closely to what we've seen in our survey this morning. Starting first with Python, there was some data visualization, there was a tremendous amount of SQL, machine learning, and then you begin to see some other areas around communication, presentation, critical thinking begins to kind of fall at the bottom of the list. And here's where we want to begin to kind of challenge some of your thought process. Where we see is that these particular skills will begin to flip. The paradigm will begin to change as we move forward. As technology continues to advance, we will continue to see more, I would say, commoditization of machine learning, more democratization of machine learning, more automation in this space. And this is something that we want you guys to begin to keep in mind, because as technology continues to advance, the democratization of AI continues to take place and accelerate as it becomes more and more commoditized. We want to make sure that you guys understand that there's going to also be some other key skills that you're going to need to begin to take into consideration as time goes on, right? And as we know, in the technology field, technological advancements, they move at light speed. And we want to make sure that you guys are prepared in order to take advantage of that. And that's certainly something that Chris will talk about as we get a little bit closer to his session. And now, one of the things that we wanted to share with you is this is a data point that came from the Accenture Institute that begins to kind of validate some of the things that we will discuss. And I'll give you an example. It wasn't too long ago, I would probably say no more than 5 years ago, where virtualization was really maybe at its peak. There was a lot of discussion about if you're going to use a private cloud, you're going to use a public cloud. And there was also, roughly around 5 years ago, a lot of discussion about automation, specifically around the server area. And there was a lot of angst around automation, about how it would impact the typical engineer. Would it eliminate their job? Would it impact their career from a negative perspective? One of the things that we did see is we continue to see automation be accelerate and be implemented on a server basis. Whereas before, 4 or 5 years ago, you probably needed to have a fairly complex understanding as to how virtualization took place if you actually wanted to take advantage of a virtual server. In today's world, you can log on with a browser and you can push a button and you will have a virtual server. Even to a large degree, my 15-year-old son, he can do it himself. Now, when we look at how virtual servers have become commoditized over time, and we look at how automation has also played a role in this particular area, it's been inevitable that we've seen this progression of democratization and commoditization of servers. But we didn't see an impact as it relates to the workforce. So even though we continue to see advancements in a specifically given area, it doesn't mean that it's going to be a negative impact. It's oftentimes just an enabler, so that it allowed, in this particular case, the administrator to begin to do some different tasks that was enabling their organization, their particular business, to bring more value, more business outcomes to their customers. And this is something that we want to talk to you guys about today, specifically as it relates now to AI or machine learning, is that probably today, and we've seen it in the results, that most of you guys see leveraging tools such as Python, such as R, as a key to your success in the future. And then another question that we asked was, okay, so I'll take a moment to get started, and I'll kind of summarize because I know that everything dropped. But one of the things that I was trying to take an opportunity to share with you guys and to highlight is that, of course, change is synonymous with growth. As technology continues to grow, continues to advance, and become a little bit more forward-leaning, it's just inevitable that over time, these technologies become democratized. They become commoditized, where before it was maybe historically a manual process to do things. When you begin to take a look at machine learning today, and this is something that when we move into the phase of sharing with you guys a tool that you can use to help accelerate you get to that point of being able to, let's say, produce models and provide a business outcome, Daniil will do an excellent job kind of really highlighting how things are today, and then kind of how we see the future and how you can begin to accelerate your progression fairly quickly. But when you look at today, these are just a list of things that typically you would have to do manually. Okay. All right. So now that we've, let's say, survived and recovered the Zoom storm, just to kind of pick up from where I left off for the sake of time, is that currently when you begin to take a look at the role and skills of a data scientist right now, it's a fairly manual and iterative process. And if you kind of just maybe reflect back to just the analogy that I gave earlier in regards to physical servers moving to virtual servers and automation coming into place, is that over time, we kind of had to shift from focusing on how to build a virtual server and focusing a little bit more as to how it's applied within the landscape that we're working in. How our organization, our customers are going to receive value out of what is being implemented. And we foresee that we're going to continue to see this same trend from a machine learning perspective. And I think it's truly highlighted in the results of another one of our questions, where we again surveyed well over 1,000 analysts, and we talked about the exposure that those analysts have had to, as an example, an AutoML solution. And we've seen this as well in the survey that we originally conducted at the beginning of today's session. So now, as we begin to kind of, again, shift our gaze, shift our focus from where we are today to ultimately like where eventually we want to be. It doesn't mean that we don't need to understand and be capable of implementing and having some of those core skills such as Python and R, but it does mean that we need to begin to add other skills to our tool belt, such as making sure that you understand, your domain that you're focused in. Also, having a skill as it relates to business problem solving, that also will be extremely essential. One of the things that we like to remind everyone, because it's an old saying, junk in, junk out. And machine learning is not oblivious to this. If you are in the process of building models and you are leveraging data that is, quite frankly, not really geared or focused are capable of helping you to achieve your result, you're going to build a model that doesn't bring any value. So that's why it's extremely imperative upon all of us to include some of these other skills, whereas machine learning or a model just becomes a tool in your tool belt to help you achieve your overall outcome. So that's why we want to really we really want to impress upon you guys to include some of these other skills, as I mentioned, such as understanding the domain. So that business domain expertise is essential. Communication skills, leadership, because believe it or not, when you're in a data science space, you are going to be leading a number of different individuals. And I'm not just talking about from a reporting perspective, from an organizational perspective. They're going to be looking to you to help guide them through this particular process, especially if they're new to machine learning or artificial intelligence. Creative thinking, of course, and being able to solve business problems is essential. So hopefully that kind of gives you guys a pretty good glimpse as to where we kind of see the future moving forward. But what I like to do now is I like to invite Chris, I'd like to ask you a question. In your opinion, is it possible, because you're the career expert, we're all here to get your thoughts, your feedback. Is it possible for a data analyst to begin their career on the data science track without mastering, let's say it as an example, Python? Are they able to start their career without being an expert in Python and still be able to achieve some of those professional results that they're looking for? What are your thoughts?
Thank you, Blair. So, well, yes, no, and it depends. So, looking at the last slide that you were sharing here, it is true that there's a way in which domain expertise is increasingly relevant, and so to speak, the background that you come from really matters, and what you know in terms of the business domain or simply the industry that you're in, that can be really, really interesting. An example that comes to mind is a Stanford professor from the famous CS department commenting that the more interesting AI and machine learning projects came from the students of other faculties, not the CS faculty, because they were in agriculture or in engineering or in medicine. And then if they kind of came into and started using AI, they were looking at this and they were developing the more interesting use cases, the more interesting problems, and also the more interesting solutions, because they had this domain expertise, this other background to which they added data and artificial intelligence. So yes. And then, of course, another answer I have is no, and I'll give you another example. So where I sit, I deal with a lot of people that are in business and responsible business leadership positions. And every now and then somebody comes and says, you know what, Chris, I finally completed that Python course on one of the usual online learning platforms. And I'm really proud of it. I did this because, you know what, now I can talk to my tech people totally different because I get some of the Python, right? And then, of course, third part of the answer is where you're sitting. So I appreciate that you're developing AutoML tools. And yes, it is really important that more people get to use this. And I'm on the same page in terms of commoditization and democratization and so on and so on. So yes, great. We absolutely need more of that, and more of that will happen. And then perhaps like you, so I'm guessing you also know how to code in Python, for a lot of people that want to get into that career and be, say, more than a user. They want to be a professional. They kind of want the real thing or the real deal. They will want to learn Python. So there are many answers to that. So to some extent, perhaps you don't, at least not to get started. But then as you move into the field, probably you will want to, and that's fine too.
Okay. All right. Well, I think this is a great opportunity so that I'll hand the baton off to yourself.
Thank you, Ryan.
And I wish you smooth sailing in Zoom at the moment.
Thank you, Blair. Thank you very much. I'll do my best. So I'll start sharing the screen. So I have for everybody, obviously, a presentation ready and prepared that is now going to go to full screen. So I trust that you can see this. Thank you again, Blair. I'll take over. So what I'm going to do for you is the quickest pathway to a data science career. And actually, I just get you started right away from this quote. So why a data career? Why does it make sense to start a data career? So I'll let you read this quote here while telling you that a few years ago, I was the director of one of these boot camps. So this is where you can learn Python, machine learning, AI, kind of in person, in small groups. That's what boot camps do. They kind of boost your career. So we were trying to attract people that were data literate, highly data literate, probably had prior programming experience, and actually kind of boost their career and get them into a data science or machine learning position. Now, the quote that you're looking at is from Jean-François Gagné. He's a French-Canadian entrepreneur. He was one of the co-founders of Element AI. Once upon a time, a famous AI startup because it was so well funded, and his co-founder was somebody called Joshua Bengio, who you might have heard of, a professor at the University of Montreal and one of the godfathers of deep learning. So they founded a startup also on this idea that no matter who you are, self-improvement is one of the most important and most overlooked attributes, and that it actually only takes 4 years to become a senior or 5 to lead. And this is because we're in a field that is moving so fast and actually growing so fast. So moving on from that, which is not working for the moment, apologies. There we go. So I just said why it is exciting and why so many people are joining. So here are some of the key facts. The first is, over the past 4 to 5 years, we have seen a 10x growth of the field. So the data for 2020 show that worldwide there are like 500,000 practitioners now. But we also know from Jean-François Gagné's earlier work that in 2016, 2017, he only found like 50,000 practitioners worldwide. So this is in 4 years, and in the numbers of professionals in the field, this is phenomenal. It's really astonishing, and you can see this if you take by comparison the world of the software developers. So there we have 13 million professional software developers. I'm referring here to the number of people that do this for a living, not people who code once in a while. So 13 million professional developers worldwide, with a growth rate of 20 to 25% annually. So this is still also a really rapidly growing field, and it's easy for you to imagine that if the growth rate is 20 to 25% annually, the field doubles in like 3 to 4 years. Okay, it's not quite the same as 10x, but we have 2x. And then also from the experience over the last 4 years in the data science and AI field, we know that NUMED graduates from any discipline with Python, R, and SQL are highly suited. This goes back to also what you saw in the survey data, and perhaps as participants you see yourself that this Python and SQL is kind of like the must-have for a professional entry at the moment and to really have opportunities. And again, if we compare this overall to the most popular languages, we see that in the wider field of software development and writing code, Python now actually claims the number 2 spot among the most popular languages overall. So it's of growing importance, actually. Okay, so I mentioned that I was the director of a data science bootcamp, and this is also where I got into this question of how do I actually start a data career. At the very beginning, I sometimes more or less had to manually go around and place graduates with companies. Then we started understanding what goes into this much better. And for the AI Guild, of which I'm a founding member, we run a lot of workshops for entry-level people looking for the first and the second opportunity. And we thought we'd not just give advice, but we'd also prove, so to speak, that the way we're thinking about this works. So we developed a format called the AI Guild Validated CV that we've been running now for 6 months, of which we know that it gives people more interviews and also better job offers. And the AI Guild is based in Europe, so we are a European undertaking, but we are also global in the sense that our members come from all parts of the world: North America, South America, the Middle East, Africa, East Asia, Australia, New Zealand, so wherever. We have members from all parts of the world. Some of them live in Europe, some of them are elsewhere in the world, and they are all using this kind of format wherever they are. Okay, so I said it's the fastest growing labor market, but I also think it's the most valuable labor market. Some of them, again, actually you saw in the presentation earlier in terms of the salaries. So, for the US, the data scientist at 150,000, even entry-level opportunities at 100,000. So there's something that we've done. So there's hundreds of CVs that we've looked at, edited, commented, and inspired. We've run a number of events that tell us through data, through experience, through feedback, how people find their first, second, and third role. We've really worked on also setting the standards for the whole field. And we're kind of developing competency profiles and career tracks for all the major roles there are. So from data analyst through data scientist all the way to NLP and engineer and MLOps. That's me. You can find me on LinkedIn if you like and connect. And then I'm now gonna run quickly through you. For you through some pragmatic advice on getting started, since we're looking for the quickest way of getting there. So quick flashback, 2012, you will have heard of this. And then actually, this is a Harvard Business Review article that is worth finding. So you can just, take the search engine, type in data scientist, the sexiest job of the 21st century, and enjoy the read. And I come back to this, so this was the starting point. And a decade later, we are at 500,000 practitioners. And notice that AI research is less than 1% of the supply mix. That means 99% of the people are now actually making it happen in terms of industrial application, use cases, getting stuff into production. Of course, there is some data that suggests that quite often this is notoriously unsuccessful. So this idea that there's a failure rate around 80%. It's just a decade, so the failure rate is going to be high, but actually 99% of the people are now working on making this happen. Then also already through the survey and the stuff we've heard, you're probably aware that there are different data roles that have functions. And I'm throwing this slide at you to say, you kind of need to make up your mind which data role is for you. I think this is the most important choice early on. So what is it? Data scientist, machine learning engineer, data analyst, business intelligence, software engineer, depending what it is. And you need to get a grasp for what you want to do, but also what you got the technical skills for or the acumen for. And it's important to get that right. It is also determined, so to speak, very pragmatically speaking, if you think about your LinkedIn profile, or perhaps you're using a resume or a CV, it does need to say something out there. And I am personally not very fond of these LinkedIn profiles that say data analytics, data science, MLOps, Tableau, Power BI, and 25 other keywords right under your name at the top, because really what they're communicating is, I'm just throwing all these keywords at you. Maybe I optimized it for the search engine, but I'm actually not willing to tell you who I am professionally. So I'm really fond of LinkedIn profiles that say data analyst or data scientist or MLOps. If it's not just one, I'm also fine with LinkedIn profiles that say data analyst, data scientist. Then I know that these are the two things you can do or you want to do. But more than that, and I'm thinking, well, you don't have a professional identity, or maybe you're just an enthusiast, or you don't know what you're doing. So data role, you need to understand what it is, that who you are and how you communicate about this. Now, part of this today, and also what Newton AI is doing, is offering, for example, no-code solutions. And then it is not just AI, there's more. So there are other roles around data and artificial intelligence that can be had in industry. And if it turns out that coding in Python isn't your thing, then there are other things that you can do. It doesn't mean that you can't have a data career. You just then need to figure out what other kind of data career is available to you. And I have referenced here a report from the Royal Society in the UK that has a wider scope. And then another concept that I can give you is the notion of data literacy. So we know about literacy and we know about numeracy, but with what we have at the moment, we also need people, we need companies, we need organizations to have more data literacy. And this is a wide field, and it's going to be really, really important also because lots of companies and lots of people actually aren't data literate. Yeah, data literacy is not quite the same as numeracy or being good at mathematics. It has something to do with the fact that you need to be able to understand probabilities, the logic of probabilities, what that means, and also, for example, what exponential growth is. And perhaps one of the things that we all learned together over the last 18 months in the COVID pandemic is just how difficult it is for people to understand what exponential growth is and why, now that we have this Delta variant going about that is 6 times more infectious, why, again, the infection rates in so many countries are accelerating so much. Yeah? And you can see that maybe the people doing the numbers, the people in the medicine doing the computation get it, but then from there on, they need to communicate these to other people that need to take the action, and probably this is where the first problems occur. And then the politicians that need to take actions, they don't get it. They are not data literate. They don't understand this, and from there on, you run into trouble. So data literacy is a wide field that is going to afford a lot of career opportunities. Back to your data career. Now, you have, from what I know, 4 key challenges ahead of you. You typically struggle to frame your skill set. You probably have little or no relevant experience or domain experience. Companies sometimes prefer to upskill the current employees, and very often employers are not yet very good at finding matching talent. The exception may be some startups in Silicon Valley, and also some of the big players in the Silicon Valley, but elsewhere this is by and large still true that employers will give you a long job description that they're looking for a data scientist, but if you really dig in and you go and ask them a few questions, you realize what they really need is a data analyst, because they have no data pipeline on which you can build models that work. So that's that. So I mentioned the data role. Which data role is your best choice? But there's also another way in which you can kind of accelerate your career search and move forward, and that is by asking yourself at what type of company you want to work and which industry is yours. Now, like this. What do I mean with this? What type of company means there's a difference between working for a consultancy company or working for a startup or working for a large corporate. And you need to figure out what you want to do. So do you need a startup that actually is digital only and has a working data infrastructure? Is this where you want to go? Or can you handle a corporate that has lots of legacy IT, would like to do lots more data, and where the challenge for the next 10 years is actually building the infrastructure, putting sensors in their production facilities, and developing something where, 1, their products become more data-driven, 2, their business processes become more data-driven, and 3, their production processes become more data-driven, for example, through predictive maintenance or predictive quality or whatever it is that you can do in an industrial company. So, or do you want to work for a consultancy firm? And if it's a consultancy firm, is it one that basically advises on AI strategy, or is it one that also does the implementation and the coding and delivers at least proof of concept, if not deployment? And then which industry? Is it finance, or is it agriculture, or is it medicine, pharmaceuticals? Where is it that you want to go? I think these are really the 3 most important questions. And perhaps you noticed here, what I'm not yet focusing on is, how much Python do I need, or where does my SQL need to be, and so on. These are more fundamental ones that you need to answer, and answering them well and for yourself being fairly sure about this is what makes a professional career successful. Because the technical skills is something you can learn over time. We've already had that today. I'm going to skip some of these and move on to a really pragmatic way of looking at this. So we're here tonight to kind of look at how to start a data career and how that might go best for you. Sorry, that was not how it was supposed to be. How that might go best for you. And I mentioned earlier that we're in this space and we've piloted for a while the validated CV to help people be more successful in the first and second role. And over time, we've developed an understanding of what needs to be in there. And now I'm coming to this pragmatic part. What makes a difference? What does it need to look like? And I'm going to focus on the CV or resume to help you understand what kind of skills or expertise you need for you to be successful and get those interviews. Yeah? Okay, 4 parts. 1 is technical skills. 2 is business skills. 3 is data experience. And the 4th one is your professional mission. What does that mean? So it means if you are in the field and you want to get considered for interview, you want to have that role as data analyst, data scientist, ML ops, whatever it is, you will get considered if you can highlight your technical skills. And the other side looks at the technical skills and goes, tick, yes. So another way of looking at this, the technical skills section in your CV or your LinkedIn profile is what gets you past the no. Yeah, because here you are applying. You want an interview. You want them to offer a job. There will be more than one applicant typically. There may be hundreds of applicants. So the first job of the company and its human resource department is to say no, 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 no. So if you want to get past the no, you have to highlight your technical skills. Okay, so now you got past the no and you are under consideration. Now, the interesting thing is that at that point, it's not so much your technical skills, but your business skills that become interesting. So the question is, well, so now let's say I have 200 applicants, 150 are out, 50 are remaining, 5 I want to interview, or maybe 10 I want to interview. How do I? So what else do you bring to the company or to the industry? So do you fit the company? Is this your domain? Do you have business skills? So can you work in a team? Do you understand what moves a business forward? Have you perhaps done this before? Or if you're coming out of academia, do you have transferable skills that are interesting? You know something about project management, or you know how communication works. You're good at presenting. So business skills. Be invited. Yeah. So this is the second step. Then the third step is, do you already have data or tech experience? And can you talk about it? Can you actually summarize it? This is can you tell it in such a way that your grandmother or your grandfather gets it? Okay. Because obviously companies want people that work in a data career, but you actually need to be able to communicate with the rest of the company and the rest of the world. And can you do that? So that makes you stand out. If you are not just nerdy, but you are nerdy and can speak about it or present it or something like this. That's the combo that gets you more interviews. And then, of course, overall, you know, what's your focus and where are you going? And does that match where the company is going and where the company sees itself at the moment and in future? That's, so to speak, the combination that gets you more interviews if you kind of nail them. Okay, so now I've told you what this is, and now I'm going to dive in and give you examples and talk through examples to get this across. So technical skills. I have seen dozens of CVs where people kind of list their skills. It then says Python, deep learning, project management, creative thinking, R, Spark, PyTorch, Pandas, NumPy. That's not a profile. That's not even an intelligent list. It's just a list. It's confusing. So you need to guide your reader to the technical skills profile. You need to organize it in such a way that they can understand it. I've given you an abstract example here and urge you to use headlines for comprehension at a glance, okay? And here's an example, okay? And what am I after? So imagine your application is under consideration. Unfortunately, it's Friday. It's 2 p.m. in the afternoon, or in the US, it's Thanksgiving. So just before Thanksgiving, I've got 50 CVs that I need to go through. Okay, help your reader. Tell them at a glance what you've got, what you're good at. This is what you're looking at. Okay, so it says technical skills is organized. Programming languages, data analytics, ETL pipelines, machine learning. Together, they give a profile. Then it lists some of the tools or languages or methods, and it kind of indicates some of this stuff I've been doing for years. Some of this is new, but here you go. That's the package. That's my profile. Another example is here. Okay, these of course are people who are technically more advanced, but you kind of get the idea. You need a profile to emerge that the other side can kind of get in 10 seconds. Next one. I spoke about the business and organization skills, again, so to speak, abstractly speaking. So for those of you that already have experience, professional experience, it's your business skills. For those of you that are students or somehow in academia or transferring, say, from a domain that isn't very technology oriented. So I've seen people move from education to data careers. So then you have transferable skills. The question is, what is it that you've done? If you look at this again, you see it's well organized. There's a clear profile. There are examples, and you probably see at a glance also that these examples are very specific. So let's look at a specific example. This is somebody with prior business experience that then moved into a data career. So it says, I use project management, for example. I use Gantt charts to schedule my laboratory work, instrument time and thesis writing, and so on and so on. The thing is, Gantt charts are a specific tool in project management to show dependencies among work packages. So this really makes clear that somebody has those project management skills, and a company will recognize these. Another example for the same here, transferable skills. So say interpersonal communication, optimize project progress via weekly scientific debates with superiors and peers. So this is somebody that's been in academia, actually at PhD level. Then the question is, what were you doing at your PhD level? Same is true at the master level. What were you doing in terms of transferable skills that you did over there that would also transfer to a business context, because actually the methods or the procedure or the way of things are similar enough. And this is the point about saying I had weekly debates or weekly group meetings, or I did seminar talks, or I spoke regularly at international conferences, because all of this kind of communicates I can be trusted to go up in front of a group of people and make them understand something or teach them something or show them something. Therefore, I can take the results of the work or an idea or a project plan and kind of make it happen with the rest of the organization. And that's really important. Yeah. So many companies are now looking to scale AI across the enterprise, and actually scaling AI across the enterprise, of course, is a technological challenge. But it's just as much an organizational challenge. And if it fails, it will probably not fail for technical reasons. It'll probably fail for organizational reasons. Yeah, people not getting it, people obstructing, people not wanting to do it, communication not working, and 3 other things. So this type of stuff for a company that you show that you have it and you give specific examples from your life, that really makes a difference when considering. And then in Blair's presentation earlier, you already saw that. So some of these concepts were already popping up there. So I think we're aligned on this. Next one, the data projects or the data vignette. So how do I do this? What is this about? The idea here is to ask yourself whether in data or tech, you've already done something. Now, it could be that it's just a GitHub project. Fine. But maybe there is something in your earlier life that already was data or had data relevance. If you're here tonight and you're thinking of a data career, chances are there is or there will be. And then the thing here is to tell the other side, to make it clear that you have this experience, you have some know-how, you've done this before. Here's again another example. So this is the truth of the matter is, of course, when you look at this, your grandmother will still need an explanation. But it's the effort to kind of communicate in as simple and plain English as possible what it is that you've done that is and what is interesting about it, and perhaps what was your achievement with it. And the thing is that if you think about communication today, I don't know, do your data project in a tweet. It'll be probably a familiar challenge. So do your data project in a tweet. So are you able to communicate what you're doing really to the point, succinctly, so that the other side at least has a good idea what it is that you've achieved? Now, There's a bonus point to this, or there are even several bonus points to getting this right. So one is it forces you to sit down and ask yourself, what kind of experience do I have and how do I communicate that properly? The next thing is, if you get called for interview, you've written something that the other side can use to launch. So if you do something like this, it's great. It's great for the small talk before the interview actually gets started. So somebody says, I read on your C you were doing this interesting problem. Can you tell me more about it? There you go. It's your home turf. You warm up. It helps. Even in the formal interview situation, it's like that. So you've written something that's interesting. Also, of course, such a short summary is always a teaser, right? So you're likely to get questions on this. Again, it plays to your advantage because you have done your homework, and if you've condensed it like that, you can expand on it, and it makes for easier sailing in your interview process. Okay, so I've gone through the first three. Here's actually, so to speak, a work vignette to close this off. So this is somebody that's been working in a tech-related stuff around looking for materials that can replace silicon. It's not strictly a data experience, it's something else, but it works equally well. Okay, the fourth point I mentioned is the search and mission statement, and I will right away draw your attention to the one in the middle. I'm bringing machine learning skills to the energy industry to help decarbonize the supply of heat and electricity. This is still the best mission statement I've seen, and I saw this one like 4 or 5 years ago. Why? Well, it basically says, I have machine learning skills. I want to work in the industry, or already work in the energy industry. And if you are, in the wind or so you're dealing with wind or solar stuff, sun stuff, then I'm your guy. Or perhaps if you are a more traditional company, but you have this kind of stuff going around wind and solar energy, then yes. If you are really the oil and gas industry, then no. If you're a grid provider and you want to move in that direction, then again, yes. So it really says, I want to work in that industry. I have a particular direction. I want to help decarbonize the supply of heat and electricity. You got a job in that direction. I'm your guy. And it's also really simple for a company because such a short and simple statement basically says, this is my main interest. So it also tells a company, this is this guy's main interest. So we're doing this. We want to talk to him because at the end of the day, the thing is there are plenty of professionals and plenty of people like to have a job, but that's not the same as having a professional career. Yeah. So, and you would always want to talk to somebody that has a professional career in exactly what you're doing and where you have need. So the point here is also going back to the very beginning. This field is growing so rapidly. The demand is so high that you cannot really miss an opportunity of talking to somebody that has a clear focus, a clear mission statement, because there simply aren't that many, and your need, so your demand is still higher than the supply. So you're not going to miss out on this as a company. So here again, another example. So if you're just starting out, this is actually somebody that just got hired. So this is a data scientist with a PhD focused on a particular problem, saying that how many years of experience he has, and then kind of specifying that he's looking for a new challenge. And then to the point of saying, actually, I would like to be in these cities, so Barcelona, Madrid, or Lisbon, then from when? And by the way, he started in October, preferably in such and such team. So this has several advantages of doing it like this. Yeah. So at the beginning, it says, I'm a data scientist. So you, again, data role, you clearly say what your data role is or what you want it to be. You talk a bit about your experience, and then you look forward and you say, when and where am I looking? And it matters to companies, because if you can say that you're looking in, I don't know, New York or Seattle or Bangalore or New Delhi or, I don't know, Berlin or Germany, so if you can be about this, then a company that has a job to offer there can immediately recognize that you are a suitable candidate because this is where you are looking. Yeah. So it helps them to protect themselves against candidates that want a first job, but are actually only taking the first job already with a firm intention of leaving it after 12 months because it's not their favorite city or not their favorite company or just generally not to their liking. And for companies, this doesn't work. They want to hire people where they have a good chance that they will stay with them at least for 2-3 years. Therefore, telling them right away where you're looking, what type of company you're looking for, and so on, helps them to say yes and get you the interview and actually get you also fair treatment in the interview because this compatibility is there from the beginning. So here, another one for looking for a position in Germany or the UK. So it can also be 2 countries if you're flexible. Pharmaceutical, chemical, or medtech company. I think that's also relatively clear where this is going. So I have done this presentation, as you probably noticed, fairly quickly, also in the interest of time, because we got delayed at the beginning through the Zoom outings. So to summarize, I have these 4 elements of the validated CV that I talked about. So you need your technical skills. And I think what you've seen there is that if you want to have a professional career in the field at the moment, from what we see, it always does matter whether you have that Python and SQL or not. And then there's another second way of looking at it. So we also very often counsel people, for example, to start as a data analyst with 2 comments on this. So it's perfectly all right to start as a data analyst, and this can also be business intelligence or some sort of marketing analytics or whatever it is, but something where there's numbers. Okay, and it's fine to start without Python or without SQL or without both even, although more difficult these days. You probably need SQL, but that is learned fast. And then you move on in your career. Chances are that your company that you started working for will be growing its data team anyway. And then you are already on the inside, you have the domain expertise, you have the company expertise. And if you keep learning some of the Python, your chance will come. So very often we've seen that within the same company, people can upgrade over time and change careers, no problem. Even if that doesn't work because your company somehow can't really make the data stuff work, there will be another company that will take you. So that is to this extent fine. And then I spoke about the other 3 things. So they are the ones that make kind of the difference in getting you more interviews and also making you more successful during the interviews. So the business skills, your prior experience, and the mission statement. Okay, I'm going to take the opportunity to turn to a question that came in through the chat. So Manoy, if I got this right. Hi, Chris, I'm pursuing my postgraduate in data science and also an automation engineer at Vodafone. Okay, how should I approach the data science fields and what tools should I you probably mean what should be hands-on about. Okay, so if you're pursuing a postgraduate degree or diploma in data science and you've already worked as an automation engineer, I am guessing that you can program, you know how to handle code. Your postgraduate in data science surely includes Python, probably modeling, maybe even some advanced stuff. I don't know. I mean, I don't know, so you can perhaps tell us. So yeah, okay. So then you're one of those candidates that should basically on their LinkedIn or resume state I'm a data scientist and then clarify what you've done. And don't forget to mention that you have prior business experience as an automation engineer, because this makes you really interesting, right? So automation engineer is not that far away from a data career. There's overlap. There's automation. We just heard that in terms of AutoML. So great. I would not. So what do I want to say? Take this piece of advice, structure your LinkedIn resume or CV as suggested, and you should not really have difficulties in getting interviews. Okay, on to the next. Austin. I am currently a data analyst with a lot of practice in SQL and general business acumen and analysis skills, less so on the modeling. How useful do you think a master's program in data science would be for progressing your career? Perhaps say compared to trying to just get a job in a company. Okay, so Weston, the first thing is, can you find out in your current company whether they have a data science team and what you might need to do to get there? That's the first thing I would do. If that doesn't work, then the next question is, of course, so do you practice? How do you upskill and so on? So it's not so easy to give really good advice on this. It depends where you're living and what your availability are, whether you're good at learning things online, whether you need to do it in person, whether you could do a part-time degree or you would prefer a boot camp. I don't know this. Perhaps you know, or if not, perhaps you can find out. It then really depends on your preferred learning style, how to move this forward, if it is necessary that you do further training. The thing is, it kind of cuts both ways. So on the one hand, yes, so you have a lot of SQL experience, and yes, of course. If you upgrade and have Python skills, companies are more likely to offer you interesting opportunities. Completely clear. But on the other hand, doing lots of capstone projects on online learning platforms has been overrated for a while and has shown itself to be not always a guarantee of success, so to speak. And the reason for that is that this learning and doing finger exercises, and actually it doesn't really matter very much whether you're doing the finger exercises in some university course or you're doing them on some online platform, or it's a university course on an online platform, it's still academic and you're doing these kinds of finger exercises, and they're not nearly as interesting as real stuff. And I'll give you an example, that academic example to make that clear. So something that we found is when people have a master's degree or a PhD, and they actually in what they did, they there was data and data analysis involved. So I don't know. The other day I was watching a film called Hidden Figures. Actually, I watched it on Disney Plus. If you can go and find, I'll actually type the title in here so that you can go and find that film. It's absolutely amazing, so I recommend to watch it. The film is called Hidden Figures. It plays in the US. It plays at NASA. It's 3 Black women that in the 1960s were data scientists at NASA, because they were able first to do the calculations on paper and then next able to do calculations on the IBM mainframe that was deployed for the first time back then. And why am I telling you this? So, they upgraded on the job. If you follow the movie, follows them from 1961 to landing on the moon. Yeah, and over those years, all the time, they were constantly kind of upgrading their skills, learning new stuff, and so on and so on. And that is so much more important. And it's also what we found, that when PhD students have substantial data experience, kind of like on the job, even though it's an academic job, on the job, companies really like that. And they like that a lot more than Kaggle competitions and capstone projects. So goes back to how useful is a master's program? It can be useful, but please don't expect too much. I think this is what I'm trying to say. Don't expect too much from learning. The doing is more interesting. Okay, is there another question?
I think we can also have a question section after. You can, meanwhile, to prepare your questions for Chris. Yeah. Or do you have more? If you have more questions, please go on right now to the chat.
Yes, that would be fine. I mean, I'm also aware that it's like 20 past 7, right, on my time. So it's 20 past 10 in California, and everywhere in between.
Yeah.
Midnight in India.
So please go ahead if you have more questions. If no, so let's go to the practical session right now. And Chris, do you have more time to stay with us 20 minutes and maybe to finish the session after 20 minutes with some questions that will appear?
Sure, I can. Yes, I have those 20 minutes. No problem.
Perfect. So thank you so much again. I think for everybody, if you didn't make a note, so don't worry, we will record this session and we will apply it and upload it in the Slack channel as well as in our page in LinkedIn. So you can go through all the valuable advices from today's session. And right now, I would like to invite you actually to make your first step. We were talking about the skills. We were talking how to create CV. So as we promised, we prepared for you full pack. So the luckiest one who will stay with us till the end and will try with us the practical session on the Newton platform will have a chance to win the CV validation from Chris, personal one. And later on, I will ask you, Chris, maybe to give some more information about how are you doing this and what more activity you provide from iGuild. And I know that you have an amazing project of data lift. So we will talk about it too. But right now, I would like to ask Daniel to join us. And we would like to make the practical session on our platform, Newton platform, and why. We were talking about skills. We were talking about CV, but what kind of tools, what kind of solutions can help you also to accelerate and to boost your career right now and to save your time in order to develop different type of skills that are needed, that we discussed today, and makes your life easier and make this jump and not to spend 2-3 years in order to study Python. Here with us, Daniel. Daniel is head of data science here in Newton. Please, Daniel, I will give you the turn and let's go to the real life and let's solve the real world problem right now with our platform.
Hi friends, Julia, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Daniel. I'm a data scientist here at Newton, and first of all, I would like to say that it was a really great presentation from Chris. Even being in a field for quite some time, I've discovered lots of interesting insights for myself, and I will definitely, if we have a video, watch it once again. Now, coming back to our real life example, and as Julia has mentioned, of course, it's very important to start learning. Well, if you want to progress in the field of data science and machine learning, it's very good to start learning the subject. But you can already, being a data analyst or even a manager or maybe a data scientist with not a lot of experience, and already build some really hardcore machine learning models using the tools that are out there. And one of these tools is our automated machine learning platform, Newton, which we're going to show you in just maybe 20 minutes. We'll do an end-to-end use case. And just repeating those steps will help you basically take your data set of work and just build a crazy neural network on top of it. Now, if you could let me share my screen. Okay, I can share my screen. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay, just a few slides and then we'll jump into the platform. So, as I mentioned, our solution provides a way to build machine learning models without any coding. It is a full automated process for the whole model lifecycle creation and deployment and inference and even model decay. And it's very fast. You'll see today in the upcoming 20 minutes that we'll build a whole project end to end. Now, in real world, without automated machine learning tools, this is how a machine learning project at some institution may look like. So somebody will come up with an idea, and in case the company doesn't have the machine learning expertise, and so they would want to deploy machine learning to solve one of their business problems. Okay, so the first thing they want to do is find data scientists, and you can really spend quite some time doing that these days, because really there is very high demand and very little personnel available. Then you need to set up some infrastructure, and all these steps require expenses, time, and this data scientist with compute that you will provide to them will start analyzing the data, processing the data, doing feature engineering, building models. It takes time. Then once the models are validated and everything appears to be normal, then you will have to find developers and DevOps engineers to deploy the model. Then you deploy this model into some production environment, and then you discover that this model generalizes poorly. For example, you just overfit your model to the training set, and then in real life it does not generalize. Then you're back to the first step, possibly looking for a new data scientist or repeating this experiment. And if everything works out great, then you make predictions, you use this model in operation, and when the new project comes around, well, basically half of this stuff starting from here, you're going to have to repeat basically from scratch for the new data set. So what exactly have we automated? Well, here in red or in pink are the steps that are automated by our product. So we create infrastructure on the fly for you in the cloud. You don't even worry about it. We do data analysis. We do data pre-processing and cleaning. We do automated feature engineering. We create a model and validate the model up to tenfold with up to tenfold cross-validation. And then we deploy the model. So you don't need a data scientist anymore. You don't need developers and DevOps to deploy the model. Everything is done by a keyboard and a mouse with maybe 4 clicks or 5. And in addition to all these things, we also have an extensive explainability office, which you can see here in purple. So we have automated EDA. We have introduced a model interpreter that helps you understand the rationale behind the neural network that has been trained. We create this model to data relevance indicator, which is also unique in its class, like sort of a model lifecycle management tool that tells you when you need to retrain your model in a fresh set of data. Well, of course, you can look at the feature importance matrix, and also we have a REST API access to our models. You can even download the code and integrate this into an environment without internet and use this offline. Okay, and all of this boils down to really just you have an idea, you go to the platform and upload your data, you just select your settings and train your model, and you make predictions using that model. So there's something else here. So yeah, and these are some of the key takeaways. So it's much faster to go to market. You can basically, if after today's demo, somebody would want to leverage the model that we have built, then a go-to-market will be 20 minutes. It's much, we have estimated 70% reduced cost of implementation. And I really don't agree with the last point here, 90% reduced cost of support. Our support is free. Once you sign up for the platform, you get all the support that is necessary. So basically, you guys can just take a picture of this QR code. It will take you to the platform, and you can just give me a second, please. I'll go back. And without any registration, you can follow along with me doing what I'm going to be doing, and we'll be building a model together. Everybody will have a chance to do the same. So maybe you guys can take a minute to. And by the way, if it's not convenient to take a picture, there is in a chat. There should be a message here. Yeah, there is a message from Yulia with a link, so you can go ahead and follow the link to be able to use the platform in the upcoming 20 minutes. And at the end, for all of those who will have registered, of course, as Julia has mentioned, will have all of them will have a chance to have one of them actually will participate in its CV validation. So we'll randomly choose one profile, and Chris will validate their CV. So once again, this is a QR code, and in the chat you can get a link. And I'll be jumping to the platform right now, and maybe I'll wait for maybe 20-30 seconds so you guys can get started. So this is our login screen, and well, I'm gonna go ahead and log in.
Meanwhile, we are waiting for you join the link. Chris, could you please tell us 2 words about this service of CV validation, because people are so exciting to have a chance to win it today?
Sure, Julia. So it's actually relatively straightforward and simple. What we do is we help you kind of draft and finish a 2-page CV or resume that you can also use to update your LinkedIn in the format presented, from which we know that it gets people more interviews. In this specific case, this means that the person will be asked to draft, will get 1 or 2 sessions with me to kind of work on this. This is so to speak a WhatsApp call while simultaneously working on a GDoc, for example. Yeah, so it's actually coaching and practical work together to get it done, to polish it, and to put it in a format that can be used for applications. Also to reach out to companies or other practitioners that you want to talk to, and that will hopefully also transform LinkedIn or whatever other presence there is to make this more attractive.
Wow, I want it also. Can I participate in this giveaway?
Sure. No, you can't actually, because you work for the company. But
yeah, of course. But just to have in mind. Yeah. Cool. So yes, please be active today, because you have this exclusive chance to win this personal CV validation. And part of this, you have a chance right now to build your model, even you don't have any knowledge of Python or have you, but you can use our platform to do it in 6 minutes actually. So let's go to the platform. If you don't connect, please do it right now. If you don't have a chance, just see on the screen how can you use it. Okay, let's go, Daniel.
Oops, wrong button. Okay, I'm now switching back to our platform. And well, this is basically our main work screen. So from here, you can launch any machine learning task that we offer. And you guys, after having followed the link, you'll have an empty space here with only one button in the middle saying create a new solution. I have this button here up on top. Once you already have some solutions created, this button moves to the top. And while we're here, basically here you can see that from one account, you can launch as many experiments as you like. And all of them will be executed simultaneously because we created dedicated infrastructure in the Google Cloud for them. So let's go ahead and start a new solution. I'll give it a name saying demo. And click next. Now I'm here, I'm in a production environment here, and I can create any types of models from this account, but you guys have our so-called test drive service, so you'll have only the preloaded data sets option available here. Let me just click this. Excuse me, something wrong with my internet. Okay, so the preloaded data set section is helping our customers that don't have the data just to figure out how the platform works. And today we're going to show you a case from HR. So employee attrition, it's a binary classification problem that helps us predict whether the employee will potentially quit their job, and we can, if they are important for us, we'll retain them from doing it. Okay, so we have selected this use case and click OK. By selecting this use case, our platform provides the data set. It sets up all the, as you can see, we have 3 major steps that the solution goes through. So at the dataset tab, usually the customers upload their own data, but the platform in this case has provided a built-in data set. And at this step, one last thing we want to do is to select a target variable. So which column do we want to learn to predict from your data set? And these are your columns. And we have already selected the actual target column here, attrition. So you can just click next. And that's it with the first step, with the data set definition. Second step is training. And well, again, since we have selected a pre-uploaded data set, all the settings are already in place. But once you upload your own data set, you can select either binary classification, multi-class classification, or regression. And of course, the platform will figure that out by itself and provide default options for you. But you can change it if you like. And you can select any of the supported metrics according to which the platform or the model is going to be validated. So accuracy is the easiest one to interpret for a binary classification problem. Well, just an easy example: if the model will predict 7 out of 10 correctly, then our accuracy is 0.7, or you can say 70%. So just you can click start training right away, and we'll start training the model. And in the actual production environment, everything is going to happen the same way, and in 99% cases you're not going to have to configure anything, because we'll create all the necessary default arguments for you based on your data and all of our analysis that we do under the hood. And yeah, you don't have to wait, we can message you when this is done. So we have started the training process, and we stay here in the training tab. And here basically you'll be able to see well, a log. It's like a business log that tells you what's going on. So right now a virtual machine is being created, and it's also duplicated here. And the progress bar also will get filled up. And after the training starts, here we'll be able to see all our metrics with each iteration of a neural network, and they'll change dynamically here. So for example, accuracy, we'll see the first accuracy that the model achieved, and then the next one, and so on. As long as the neural network will keep training, and it will understand when to stop by itself. We don't have to worry about that. And well, we've selected accuracy as our target metric, but just for user convenience, we'll also calculate all the other relevant metrics for you, and we'll show them to you dynamically. And if you don't know how to interpret them, or you don't want to, and this is especially relevant for the regression types of problems, here we've got a model quality index. And here we'll draw you a simple plot that is going to show you how good your model is doing across all the relevant metrics. And this is very easy to validate. And while we're waiting, a virtual machine creation takes about 2.5 minutes. One thing I'd like to show to, well, our customers during the demo, because this interface is very straightforward. I've pressed my mouse 3 times, and we have started everything. And some customers think that it's a very simple process under the hood. But just to show you how the data evolves, I have 3 data sets here. Basically, it's 3 copies of the same data set, a Titanic data set. This is a hello world of machine learning, where, let me just show you the data set. And we've downloaded this from Kaggle. So here, everybody that starts learning machine learning, they'll start with this data set. And this is the target variable. Customers are, the people, data scientists are competing to predict who will have survived or not. And it's a rather simple data set. But on the other hand, there is some text in here. And this is different text from, for example, sex column or embarked column, because these are pure categoricals. And what about this? Is this text or not? Or could this be considered ID, or should you treat it as a text field and use some TF, IDF, I don't know, any other vectorization tools? So you have to think about how do you treat this column here. You have missing values here in the age column, for example, and there are some in the embark column, in the cabin. How do you treat those? You've got total mess here with letters and symbols and numbers and spaces and things like that. So how do you change all these data points? Well, again, the platform will do everything for you. And just one thing I want to mention, 2 things actually, which are I presume are quite advanced. Missing values imputation is done by the platform by not just changing them to mean or median or the most common value. We will do end-to-end machine learning projects during this training session to train and predict missing values by machine learning for every column that contains missing data. Or, for example, this categorical column embarked. Well, you can transform this as one-hot encoding, mean target encoding, factorization, weight of evidence. There are lots of options, and no one really knows which one is better until you will run experiments and do that and understand which one works better. And again, the platform will do all of those, validate and understand which transformation option suits better, and it will transform those values accordingly. Okay, so after data pre-processing by the platform, this is how this data set is going to look like. So everything is clean and tidy. There is no missing values. There are no outliers. Everything is transformed and normalized in the scale between 0 and 1, which is common practice for neural networks, makes it easier to converge. And our platform also does, so this is considered data pre-processing. After this, you can fit any machine learning algorithm on top of this data. But since the platform also does feature engineering, at this stage, the platform will measure the baseline metric, remember it, and carry on to feature engineering. We create features by batches. There are altogether 16 different iterations of feature engineering, and every batch of new features gets validated against a baseline metric. And in case we improve the baseline metric, then those features stay in the new data set and we carry on the iteration. So after feature engineering, this Titanic data set on the platform is going to look like this. Just give it a second because it becomes quite larger. Okay, so this is a data set after data pre-processing, and these are all the new features that were created and validated by the platform. So we have extracted out of those 11 columns, the platform has created 80 more columns. For example, this feature here is a combination of tree-based models, linear models, feature P-class, a part of the feature embarked, another linear model, fair, P-class. Well, you cannot interpret this because these are non-linear feature correlations based on different types of models, but it has passed the validation and created a positive impact to the target predictions. You don't have to even think about these. All of this happens under the hood. You don't even see this. Okay, so that's it for data pre-processing and feature engineering. And already we can see we are 38% complete. It has been almost 4 minutes, and these are our current metrics. And we can see that it's doing pretty good across all the metrics already, falling a little behind on the balanced accuracy, but really don't worry about this because we have maybe 3 more minutes to go, I believe. And by the way, while we're waiting, we can leverage the explainability offers that we offer. And you can click here at the analytics tools and look at the exploratory data analysis. This is also one of the things that the data scientists should start any machine learning project from in order to understand how to interpret the data and what type of data do they have and are there really any interactions in the data. So this is just a graphical representation of the important stuff in the data set. So the first section is data overview. We can just show you what are the data types that we've got, some statistics on the target, the data set dimensions, and there is no missing values. And that's a pity because there is a pretty plot for missing values. Okay, next section is for continuous features. Now, for every one, in this case, monthly income, you can switch them like this. So for every feature, every continuous feature, in this case, monthly income, we can show you this distribution here on the left and the relation to the target variable on the right. So you can see how your monthly income is distributed across the data set. And you can see here that for those who have churned, who have left the company, their monthly income on average, so mean monthly income value for one of the target categories, so was less than for those who have stayed. Well, that's pretty obvious, I would say. Okay, next section is discrete data. So these are your categorical columns, like over time, right? So again, you can see the distribution here for the over time column, where yes is represented in like 330 cases and no in about 900 cases. Now on the right, again, the relation to the target variable, you can see that for those who have not being subject to overtime. According to the legend, like 90% have not churned. And for those who have been doing a lot of overtime, well, it's 1/3 of the people have churned. Again, this makes perfect sense, but this is in some other unusual cases, you can find interesting relationships in the data. Okay, the training is finished. And after the training is finished, we are being redirected to the prediction step. You can always go back and look at your exploratory data analysis, and I'll be very brief because this section is just showing us the target distribution in percent. There is a correlation heat map, and basically that's it. We also do a lot of other plots like the time dependencies plot, missing values map, my favorite, outliers plot, word cloud for text data. But none of this data was available for this data set, but you have this option which is available for you during the training process. Okay, after the training is done, you are at the prediction step. And a virtual machine that was used for training has been shut down, just not to waste your costs. And if you want to create predictions, there are three options. You can, first of all, you can download an archive with the model to your local machine and just disconnect from the internet and forget about this subscription. It's yours forever. It's free. You can use it as much as you like. The other two options are connected with what model being deployed to the cloud, like a word prediction, doing this in a graphical interface, and REST API access. You just click on enable, and it's going to start creating a virtual machine. It will take another 2 minutes. And after that, we'll be able to use the model to make predictions. Just not to waste time, you can click this if you're following along. It will take about 2 minutes, but I will switch over to this identical solution, which has already enabled word predictions. It will just take us, we'll save maybe 2 minutes. I'm sorry for the hiccups. I have some crazy calculation here on my machine for 2 weeks already, so it's been quite slow. Okay, it's the same identical data set, identical model, only this time the word predictions are enabled, so you can disable them here. After you have enabled word predictions, you can access model via REST API from anywhere with internet access using pre-configured code in 4 languages, or you can use your own code because this is the URL, the request example and the response example. Well, any engineer will figure this out easily. Or you can just use the platform to create, to start a word prediction. So again, we have used the pre-configured data set. So if this was not the case, you will be prompted to just upload, drag and drop your data set from your machine. So let's just click start. And I already made a prediction today, just a few hours ago, but let's go through this process once again. It will take only a few seconds. This is not a very large data set. And after your predictions are ready, and here they are, you have 2 options. One of them is you can download them and they'll be just downloaded to your downloads folder, or you can have a look. And here, we also unlock the other part of our explainability office, model to data, or no, this is called a model interpreter. Let me just give me a moment to explain. So this is our test data set, presumably uploaded by the customer, in this case by the platform. And this is what the platform has added to this data. So the actual predicted attrition column, the probabilities of both, the actual predicted attrition class. So we can see that none of these 10 people, and you can look through all of them really, are not predicted to churn. And here you have the probabilities of them churning or not churning. You can see that the model is pretty confident in them not churning. And maybe let's find somebody that is about to churn. Okay, so this person here is predicted to churn, and the probability of their churn is 54%. So they are balancing on the decision churning or not churning based on the statistics. So what if this is an important person? What if we want to keep them in the company? Or what if we would just want to understand why the company is predicting them being churned? Well, all of those questions are answered by clicking any of the rows of the prediction and selecting model interpreter. Now, with this tool, we've introduced interpretability into neural networks, which are by default not very interpretable mechanism. And also, it will help you figure out the answer to the question: what if I change something? How would that affect the prediction? Okay, so what we can see here is that the platform has predicted that the model has predicted that they will churn at 54% probability. And these are the top 10 features, columns in the data set based on the model's opinion and those feature values for this particular person. So over time, okay, this person is subject to overtime, and it corresponds to 54% probability of them churning. A number of companies work, so they work at 3 companies, and well, basically you can just dynamically move the mouse around and see how the predicted values would have changed. So if this person would be fresh out of college, like this would be the first company they worked at, so they wouldn't mind over time. They would stay. According to the model, it predicts that they would not churn at 52% probability. Or if you this one thing that really is important, as an employer, you cannot control the number of companies they worked at. This just basically describes the experience of the person. But you can control this if you remove overtime and have them leave the company on time. So then they would definitely stay. We can see that the probability of not churning is 87%. And you can look at the other things, total working years. So if they worked for a longer period of time, according to the statistics, then they would probably stay, even being over time and with all other things in place. And we even have here a feature influence index. So what this really is just an influence of this feature at this particular point. So let me explain. Let me find like a shallow place in here. So here, no matter how much you move, you don't have a big increment to the predicted probabilities, a small one. But here, the slope is a bit steeper. And with every increment, you have a larger impact on the prediction. And you can see what is the feature influence in every particular point. So this here is the most important point because moving left and right will have the highest impact. And you can, of course, select, and this is interesting, really. So this person is a research scientist. If they were laboratory technician, they would certainly leave. Or if they were healthcare representative with all these features in place, they would stay. Okay, so, and this really helps you understand your data. So this is a model interpreter, which helps you understand the model and helps you make decisions on how to change the predicted outcome. And this is available for any predicted row. Now let's go back to the prediction tab. And there's just 2 more things I want to show you quickly. Very important is to understand when your model needs to be retrained and why does it need to be trained once again. Because since you train your model maybe a month ago or a year ago, if you were happy with the model, everything validated correctly, and you've been using this model in production, and then maybe a pandemic comes and changes everything. So the relationships in the data change. What mattered previously doesn't matter anymore. So that means, and this is very logical, you will probably understand that you have to retrain your model. But what if just with slight changes in time, just the customer behavior changes, some new competitor comes into market, something you don't know of, and some minor changes here and there may affect your predicted outcome dramatically. And those minor changes are reflected in the data you are sending for the model to predict on. And by the time you understand that your model is under predicting, you will have already lost time and money and whatever. So every time you use the platform via web prediction, REST API, even in the downloadable solution, every time you send the data for the model to predict on, we will compare this data to the data used for model creation whenever that happened and give you a score. So in this case, model to data relevance indicator is 98%. So the data is 98% relevant to the data used for model training. And this will give you an idea that you can trust this model and you can use this in your decision making. Once this figure drops, say to 70, this tree will become yellow without leaves. You'll understand this is time to retrain your model on a fresh set of data. And one more thing, feature importance matrix. Well, This is a feature ranking based on their importance to the model. We can see that over time, Solely is a 21% contributor to our predicted outcome. And well, really, you can understand what makes sense for predicting the outcome that we trained to predict. You can look at the top 10, bottom 10. And an important note here is that, again, you can be selecting or storing 200 different data points or columns, and you've been doing this for a long time already. But by the time you analyze this, maybe the top 15 features only have somewhat importance, and the rest have zero importance. And you can save time and resources for not having to collect all these data points, because after building a model that suits your needs, you can just discard collecting all the other redundant data. So that's really it. If you guys have any questions, you can send them over through chat, or I don't know how do we get them. I guess through chat. I'll be more than happy to answer those.
Okay, do you have some questions or some doubts? Please, you are very welcome to address your questions right now, because we're already like about 5-10 minutes to finish. Unfortunately, because of these technical troubles today, we started our session a little bit later, and I know that it's a late night for some of you. So please go ahead if you have some questions. Okay, I just checked the chat. I think we don't have questions by now. So, okay. Okay, yes, do we have? How do we assess the CV service? Do we always upload CSV format? Okay, this is the questions. One of them about the Newton platform, and one about this CV service. I will answer about CV service shortly, and then we will go to the questions about the Newton platform. So you are very welcome to try Newton platform. You are very welcome to join our Slack channel where we will upload the record and the presentation from Chris and all the materials. So during this week, we invite you to join Gravity subscription. It's absolutely free subscription of our platform, and train your model. Try to use all the tools that Daniil were explaining right now. And in the end of this week, till it will be next Tuesday, we will do the giveaway randomly. We will select one lucky winner who has a Gravity subscription, and we will give and reward him or her by this prize from Chris, and we will of course send you personal email with all the details, how you can get it, how you can have a personal chat with Chris, and so on. So this is the how it will be. So please be free to join. I already sent the link in the chat, but if you missed it, I will share it again. And of course, you can always join our Slack channel, our community, where you can ask the questions and also have a direct connection with us, with all the data scientist team. Let's go to the next question. Is there any charges for this? You mean for the Newton platform? Yeah.
You missed one. There is also a CSV format data set.
Yeah, please go ahead with this.
It's correctly. The platform supports CSV file formats in two different types of encodings. It's all explained in the quick start documentation on the platform, but we can of course assist you if that is necessary. But yes, only CSV format at this point. And is there any charges for this? How long will it last? I presume you're referring to the link that you have followed along our presentation, but there's also, as Julia has mentioned, the Gravity platform, which is totally free, and maybe Julia can explain.
Yeah, exactly. It's a totally free, and it's not a trial. It's not like for 40 days or 2 weeks or wherever. It's forever. You can use our platform for free. You can build the models. You can use all the tools that you saw right now on the demo, model interpreter, ADA, model to data to model relevance indicator. And when you are absolutely happy with your model, with the results, with the metrics, so from this point, you can switch to a paid subscription in order to use this model in a production field. But in order, for example, to learn, to train, you can use our platform absolutely for free. And also, I would like to mention that inside of our platform, we have a lot of business cases, a lot of data sets that you can use in order to understand different types of problems from different industries. We have a very wide library where you can also study about the metrics, about different algorithms, about formats of data sets, how to prepare the data, how to clean it. So please, you are very welcome. We put a lot of efforts and love in order to give as much knowledge as we can to you, and it's absolutely for free. You are welcome to join. And now I'm sharing the link for our Slack channel. Maybe some of you already joined us there. But if no, please welcome. We always post some useful information, articles, and also some announcement about our events. So please join here in Slack. And ask us any questions anytime. We are 24 hours there. One more question, Daniil, about the platform. Do we require to create a Google Cloud Platform account? Yes, we are partnered with the Google Cloud Platform, and actually we use the infrastructure of Google Cloud. You can create the account very easily. I will share also the short guide or 3 steps how to do it. In any case, if you have some doubts or any questions, or if you need help, we have online onboarding service also for free. So you can connect with us and we will help you and go with you through these several steps and create the Google account and help you to start use Newton. I think that I don't see Daniil. Are you here with us or you lost the connection?
I'm here.
Yeah.
Yes. Is there a question? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Mm-hmm. Do we have some more questions about the platform? I think no. We already answered about CSV format, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so once again, thank you so much for this session. We apologize for some technical problems in the beginning, but I hope you enjoyed the session. You took a lot of tips from Chris, from Blair, and from Daniil. Welcome, please, to join us once again. Go to the Gravity, try the Newton, try to build your model. Next Tuesday, we will do the giveaway. We give you this week in order to try a platform and to subscribe to Gravity. And next Tuesday, we will announce the lucky winner and reward him with a CV validation from Chris. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your time, and see you next week in IE Talent Lab session. Bye-bye. Bye-bye to all.